Well, hey there, everybody. So today we've only got one exercise to cover, and that's going to be in Chapter 13. And it's got some kind of crazy instructions. We're kind of going to modify it a little bit, but that's exercise 1. And what it says is that we're going to model this part and then make 3 tiled viewports in the drawing, the model space, and then make 3 tiled viewports in the drawing or title block space. And that's kind of redundant to have two. So what we're going to do is draw it, and then we'll talk more about the ideal way to go about actually laying that out. So we'll go ahead and get into it and start at, let's do 100, 100. Let me get my book situated here. All right, so we have a line that's 92 long that's going to act as the center line. And from there, we'll start with the left. That's going to be 9.52 divided by 2 for the diameter. So let's do 9.52. So 4.76. We'll offset both ways. It looks like our template's a little huge, but that's okay. All right, so at 14.99, that's whenever, actually I need a line. It's at 14.99 that this little head portion ends here though, so. And then we've got a circle. .3 over from that same endpoint with a diameter of 4.7. All right, so we can go ahead and delete this. And really for now, we'll go ahead and jump to the other end because it looks like we may need some information from the other side to do the rest. So we'll close this end off. And then we've got a line 15.80 from the far right. Let's go ahead and just offset some more lines. So let's do 17.9. And let's go ahead and do that 32. We can go ahead and offset 6.3 back from the 32 value. All right, and then we're given a value of 12 for this right side portion here. So we can go ahead and offset 6. Make this a little larger. We can go ahead and trim off the excess. And we'll change this so it's not confusing. All right, and we'll go ahead and do the chamfer on the far right as well since we're already over here. So it's 0.7 wide at a 45-degree angle. So make sure you've got your polar on set to 45 increments. All right, trim. All right, so then we've got a radius of 1.35 relief. And actually, it's going to be this edge. So we don't have a diameter for this larger portion yet. Let's look. Okay, so it's 15.80 divided by 2. Lord. Okay, so 7.9. Now earlier when we did the 15.8, that actually was to here, so there'll be a round portion that starts here. Basically the edge here is where the next feature actually is resting. So we can trim off this bit, and we'll just trim off the rest of this line for now. So our radii will be in this area. I'm trying to see if we have a location for them. I don't know that we do. I'm peeking. It looks to me like the only thing we can really do is offset 1.35, which is the size of that radius, and then draw a radius circle 1.35 like that, so that our center intersects with this edge. We'll see if that looks right. Oh, and we'll need to create this edge here. Yeah, actually, I think that looks fine. So we'll keep going. So next up we have, looks like we don't have any sizes on the rest of this portion stuff. Okay, so this area here is the same size as this area is here. So we can, first of all, draw a line that's 39 degrees. So we'll change our increments to 1. All right, so 39. And it looks like this area is symmetric to this area. So like we have this tidbit and then what'll be a slanted portion, and then it'll be the same on the other side. So what we can do, oh, you know what? There's a size. Okay, I was wondering, I figured there had to be one. So there's a diameter of 1.4 listed right there. 1.4 divided by 2 is 0.7. So it's time like these, I actually wish that I had a physical copy of the book. That would help a lot to see this kind of stuff. All right, so we know that it actually ends here. So we'll just delete this out. And then from here we have a 20-degree line. So we'll change our snap settings again to 10 increments. All right. we'll connect these dots. And then actually, so the 6.3 value, let me dimension these. I'm not entirely sure what I had here. I think 32 was to here. Yeah. And then our 6.3 was to here. Okay, so the end of this part is right here. All right. And what's cool is this part is symmetric, or so I believe. So we're going to go ahead and copy with that assumption. Let's try it and see. Nice. So now we've actually got pretty much everything drawn here. Just make sure everything lines up. Ah, it doesn't quite line up. Okay. I'll take it back. Okay, that would have been cool, but no worries. So we'll do the same thing over here. We've got lines that are 20. Problematic. Okay. So what this means is we can't use the 20-degree dimension here. We're actually going to be just connecting the dots. If you do anything else, it'll actually not line up correctly. So connect the dots. And then, unfortunately, it doesn't give any information there. So we've got to assume that this is mirrored, which is silly for this to not, this portion here to be mirrored, but not that. But what can you do? I do want to check just to see what the, it's probably just a precision difference. So like the other one was exactly 6.3. This one is not exactly 6.3. Okay, so you know, in this case, what I would do, because this is concrete, because you know these were the intersections, this is a rough estimate. What I would actually do is go with what you know. What that dimension shows in the book is the value at that precision, but it appears that's not the final value, the exact accurate one. So what we are going to do is we are going to mirror it, because that would be more indicative of the actual shape it appears, because it's applying symmetry everywhere. Okay, so now we've got that, and sure, I can put in the 6.3 value, and you know, there you go. It looks the same, but really, like, technically, if I go and change it, it's going to be round off. So you know, there's the reasoning for that. So anyway, we can go ahead and delete out this, and we can go ahead and trim out this stuff. I thought there was a little bit in there. All right, so there's the rough shape. Now let's go ahead and put in our detailing work. And we'll just manually adjust these square grips to the endpoints. There we go. And let's detail this bad boy. I noticed when we're looking at it, I think it's going to be a bit big. So let's just do a single dimension, and then we'll adjust it to kind of make it look right. Because it's a bit big. It's not too large, but this is actually a pretty small part, as you can see. So we'll do a modify, and let's change the text height to be 2.5. Yeah, I think that'll be good. Make sure when you do that, though, to also change the arrow size to match that value we put in a second ago. And I believe that's it. Yeah, so sorry about that ping. I'm going to turn my volume down. Okay, so we can keep dimensioning over. Encapsulating all the detail we've been given to this point. Okay, we've got this 32 value here. I believe it was to here. Yeah. We have the 17.9. I'm going to do a little cleanup here. If you notice, this dimension went too far, so we'll drag it to the end. And you can't have a good model without a overall, am I right? Okay. So now we'll do a dimension like they had in the book. Guess it was towards the back end. Do the percent %C. Man, they had it way out here too. I think we'll do it to here. And then, we're going to move this dimension off of the model. So we'll do something like that. So we'll pull it a bit further out. And I know that it actually does a leader here, but we're going to do an actual dimension because leaders can lie. And you know what? It was really hard to see because it was a leader. So all right, so we'll do a dimension going this way. And it does it to here. We'll see if it looks any better. I would think that it would be easier. That's fine. Tell me that don't fit in the middle. I know it does. I don't know why it doesn't default and things like that. Okay, so that we do need a diameter symbol. And it's a little bunched up. I just don't like the 39 being there like that. So if you're dimensioning to a parallel line, it doesn't necessarily matter which. The value is still going to come out the same. So what I'm going to do is slap it in like this. It's a little easier to match up to this one if you move this one, but we can kind of tidy things up if I move this in line with that one and have these over here. It's a little easier to see what's going on versus the book. So and I think I will move this in a little bit, get it a little closer so they can kind of tell what's going on. It's not great, but it does the deed. Okay, so let's do the leader that it's talking about with the break sharp edges. It's kind of useless to me, but I believe that's something the shop would use. And it's already on left justification, it looks like. It's a little gigantic. Okay, so let's see. Our text height matches the dimensions, so we will need to change that wherever it would let us. There we go. 2.5. Okay, so now we'll adjust this accordingly. Yeah, it's kind of ugly positioning wise. Maybe we'll move this over a little bit. Oh, oh Lord, okay. It snapped there. So let's move this up a little bit. There we go. Well, sorry, now I'm just getting lost in the weeds here, but you know, we can probably just stick it like that. And that'll allow us to put this in a little easier position. But you know what? Actually, look, let's just undo that. And let's just flip this 1.4 value to the other side. There we go. So you can just choose move with leader. Like if you choose this and you hover over the node, it'll give you these different options to manipulate the dimension itself. So if we do that, then we can just move this over. I believe if you hold shift or control, one of these will actually allow you to be perfectly horizontal if you want, but I'm just going to kind of roughly set it in. And then we're just missing one more leader. And so I can just be lazy. I'm going to copy and paste one in over here and just change the format of words there. So we have C detail A. Okay, so now what it says to do is to do a viewport and all of that good stuff and show the other dimensions on it. You could technically go and do, well, actually, let's go ahead and put this on a smaller template. It's kind of tiny. So let's do a size. Come on, you. Okay, so it didn't take my copy, so let's go back. Oh, that's my mistake. I did the wrong template. There we go. Okay, so we'll do 100, 100 still. So now what it specifies to do here is to do viewports, and you could by going to view, viewport configuration. I could do 2 vertical, and you know, I could go in and I could try to zoom into this detail A, and then over in this other viewport, you know, just have it set up. That's kind of a silly way to work. You're typically not going to do this unless you're working in 3D. So we're not going to bother with that. What we will do, though, in order to get detail A set up correctly, is we're going to copy that portion. So we'll do to this point, and we'll delete out some extras. So I'm going to hit Control C and Control V to paste it over here. And I'll just bring this line back to where this line ends. Delete some of this extra fluff here that we don't really need. We really don't need any of that. So we'll kind of just cut this off proportionately similar to the book. So about right here looks kind of close. So we'll trim up to here, and then, oh, that's cool. So apparently if you trim the center line, it'll actually move with it. Take notes. So then we'll drag this side back and add in our note at the bottom, as well as our details. And then I'll show you how to use all that to make it work for you. And I do want it a bit bigger, so actually that's probably about perfect. It defaulted to that 3.048, but it's not a bad size. Okay, so we have this value here, and I would prefer you dimension it. That way you can just retain that information without losing it, and then just type in what else you need with it. So we'll just type in relief. Okay. And we'll go ahead and get on our proper layer here. There's no good way to do chamfer dimensions, so I wish there was. You know, like in 2D and 3D programs, they should have it, but they only have it in the 3D ones as far as I know. So maybe one day we'll get there. All right, 0.70 by 45, and I don't know what the value is. Percent D. Okay, so you can do percent for degrees, chamfer, and it's again left aligned. Huh. Oh, that's right. We changed templates. Okay, so if you did template change like me, you'll need to manually adjust your leader stuff again to make it match. It's interesting. It's just not taking the drop down choice there. So what we'll do is we'll just, oh, it's a dimension. Okay. We need to change all of our dimensions again. Sorry guys, I threw you an extra step here, but I noticed the template was just a little too big. Okay, so we'll go back to text and area size and change them both to 2.5. There we go. Okay. Everything still looks good up here. So now we can just grab this little guy and it'll pull that space in a little bit. Same here. When I move just the value in general, it should. It didn't in this case, but you want to keep that landing a little shorter. Okay, so we've got those two, and then we need one more leader. And I'll just lazily copy and paste one on over here. Change the information within. Notice how they do a lowercase x here and a uppercase here. Kind of inconsistent. Sorry, I'm kind of just ballparking the movement here. Okay. So now we'll bring a little space down here. And I happen to notice that this is actually going to be middle left, I believe. Maybe I did that wrong. Let's make sure. Dang it. For some reason I can't get it to take my change. Whatever. So it's fine. If you wanted to create a new one or manipulate it around, you could. So now that we've got that, we'll just move it roughly into place around here. And what you would do from here, of course, is fill out your title block. Well, actually, no, don't fill out your title block, but copy all of this. And we're going to jump into this layout one. Now it says, you know, name, make a new one, and name it title block. Well, let's just take the one that exists down here and just edit it. So we've got, by default, this drawing area. And, you know, like if I go and move around and stuff, it's kind of a weird spot. But if I double click in this area, you notice that now I have all my options. I can edit. And I can actually move around and see what's in the model space here. And you could actually edit right here. You know, I could go in and delete that line. Not that I would advise you working this way, but you could if you needed a quick change. So what we're going to do is, first of all, if you're not in it and you try to grab it, you don't get anything in it. Any kind of edits, any kind of, you know, clicks, whatever, you got to double click inside to get into it. So you notice then the border is activated. This is your viewport. So when I click out, I'm no longer in it. And if I click anything, it's this viewport itself, and I can delete it. And in this case, we will delete it. So then we're going to paste in that title block we copied a minute ago, and apparently I didn't grab it all. Okay, so first of all, we'll paste it in. And what we're going to do is paste it at 0.5, 0.5, because we, well, it really doesn't look like 0.5, 0.5 at all, but we made it with space around it so that it was set to 0, 0, and then, you know, whatever the equivalent is for this other corner. So now what you should do is go ahead and delete the title block out of this view. And when you go in here, you can fill out all this stuff, you know, as you normally would. And then you will go ahead and go to Layout tab and choose Layout Viewports. And this is where you're going to do the 3 viewports. Now, we're really only going to use 2 of them, but for layout's sake, you really need 3, and you can just delete that other viewport. So we're going to specify our rectangle that we had from our title block as our boundary size. And if you couldn't tell, the viewport we're going to delete will be this one. But what we can do is just go ahead and zoom in to the portions you want. Now, what I would advise you do, if you look down here, there's actually a scale. And what I would advise you do is try to find a scale that looks proportionally correct, because you want it to be a whole number. So maybe 2 to 1 in this case. 2 to 1's a little big, so what we could do is what we need really is 1.5 to 1, aka 150%. So let's just do custom, add, give it like a name for when you're choosing your drop down. And it'll be 1.5 paper units equals 1 unit. Let's hit OK. And then we have to actually choose it from our drop down. So there we go. Okay. So now I can double click out of it, and you know it's locked in. But what I would advise you do, if I can find it, is to actually freeze the frame. And I may not know how to do that. Oh, I bet you click out of it and then click lock. Okay, let's see if I did it. Yeah, so now when I double click into it and try to edit it, it doesn't let me. So when you're done editing this view, make sure you double click it or click lock, select the item, hit OK, and I'll do it on the second one. Now say for whatever reason, you know, it mentions in the instructions, don't let the other dimensions on this view or this view be visible. So like say I didn't want to see something in this view that's in this one, I could change these to a different layer, and if I went back to our normal layer options, I could freeze a layer. So like say, you know, I wanted to see a center line on this one, not on that one, I could freeze the center layer and it turns the visibility off. But you would obviously need different layers. But since we're not going to have that problem, we can actually just place them without worrying too much. We just got to do the right scaling. So now we've got these placed like so. And you know what? Actually, let's do 1 to 1 on this one. Because if you notice in the book, it's a little disproportionate in size, this one and this one, because a detail is typically zoomed in a bit. So we'll close that, and then we'll select our layer, and we'll do lock. Okay, select object, hit OK. So now when I edit it, it doesn't move either, so we can just close that. And so once you got it filled out, I don't know if it actually says print. Okay, so now it doesn't say to print it, but it wants your line scales to be correct. So in this case, if you're looking at the book itself, the lines are much smaller here. We may have to unlock it to do this, but let's just unlock it. So you'll type an LT scale, and what it'll do is it'll ask you for an increment. And if I say it's smaller, then the lines will be more spread out, and vice versa. If I do a larger number, it's set up for a larger part. So I'm going to choose a smaller one and see if that's pretty close. And it is. We can try it one more time, but it's going to half what I just put if I do half again. And I think that's pretty close. Curious if it did change the other one at all. I don't think so. Okay, so LT scale 0.5. So it does change it without having to unlock it. So I went back and undid my unlocking portion, and I can do an LT scale here. And there we go. So now our dotted lines look fine. There's only one final step. If you were going to print this, which is the entire point of it, you just ignore that prompt, of it telling you how to do this, is to print. So you'll choose just some default options here, nothing crazy, but just sort of set up. I'll show you the basics. So like you would do limits, but yeah, let's do limits. It doesn't let you because I had a feeling that's what I was worried about. So like what you could do is draw a rectangle around it, doing the offsets and stuff. It's probably not going to look right, but yeah, see, its extents are kind of goofy. Okay, so in this case, what we'll do, if it'll let us, is do an offset rectangle. That was my cat. Okay, so we need 1/2 inch, but in metric, so it's going to be 12.7. Alright, so technically we need to do a window that is through this area. So we'll continue to plot a single sheet. Choose, you don't have Adobe probably. The paper sheet size is fine. And we'll do window and choose that newly drawn rectangle. Fit the paper, center the plot. And now what you'll see, oh no, we've got these random gray lines. So that's where the next step comes in. If you were to go and choose this viewport, it actually has a layer that it's on. So we're going to change it to the 0 layer. We're going to have this other one. The 0 layer is used so that it doesn't print. And I believe now, if we set up everything again, it won't actually show it. I'm just going to quickly choose some stuff just in case it does show it. Okay, still showed it. Awesome. Let's see. There's a way to do this. I played with it earlier. Oh, duh. Okay, so now if we turn off layer visibility, you won't even see it anymore. But it'll already print without showing the 0 layer. You didn't have to actually change that. But just so you know, you feel like you've done it correctly, you can, go ahead and turn it off for your own sanity. So now, if you were to go and print it, it just looks like a normal drawing, but really you kind of just manipulated the program. And that's pretty much the gist of viewports. They're pretty useful, and you have different options. Like we did the one option, but you can actually do different layouts, and it can come in pretty handy. You could have a 3D model and do like orthographic views, top, right, and or front, top, and right. You could also do Volt 4 and have an ISO view up here. They're pretty useful depending on what you're doing. So I hope you take what you learn and make the best of it. But that's going to be it for today. If y'all need anything, just let me know.